Hi guys, Assalamu Alaikum, warahmatullahi, wabarakatuh. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Alright, so I made a video on how to get rid of the unwanted crush, and you guys showed quite a response on that video. Some people disagreed with it, and that's completely alright. In that video, I just stated what I stated, and a few of the statements I feel like need to be given a little more clarity, and if I back them up with furthermore statements that I had to share about the same topic, then I think it would be all the more amazing. But do I reconsider what I said in that video? Not really, because I believe I said what I said and it's the truth. And I addressed it with the Islamic point of view. Today as well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get into the depth of addressing the same topic with the Islamic point of view as to why having a crush can be mentally disturbing. Not just that, I'm also going to be sharing ways to combat that and to stay out of this having a crush situation. So if you guys are interested to know all about it, do watch this video till the end. Now, somebody in my comment section disagreed with me by telling that attraction is a normal feeling. It should be felt. And I believe that in my video, in that same video, I said exactly that. When you get a crush, it's your hormones acting up. So when it's your hormones acting up, that's when you're attracted to somebody, especially if it's in a romantic manner. And I completely agree with that comment on the part that having feelings is very natural and they should be experienced. That's true. But if you think about it, I use the word crush out of all the other words such as infatuation, attachment, attraction. Why? Because when you search the meaning of the word crush, then you will understand that a crush is when you're infatuated to somebody, but it doesn't just remain confined to being attracted to them or infatuated to them. It is an infatuation towards that person that is unattainable. Now, does that mean that the person is too good for you or you are out of their league? Not necessarily, but there can be many reasons why that person can be unattainable. For example, in Islam, we are not supposed to act upon an attraction, especially the wrong way. If you have it, if you're the age when you're considering marriage and you're actually legit sure about it, you can go about it. But otherwise, it can lead to a haram relationship. And when you are crushing over or infatuated to somebody that seems unattainable, then it is very important for you to get rid of that crush. Why? Okay, it will only take me 2 scenarios to explain to you the reason. Now, first one, take a 13-year-old girl, a preferably practicing Muslim girl that is trying to practice her deen and, be good in her religion and prevent herself from committing sins. Now, if she is in a co-ed school, say, and this is just situational, and that girl is basically at the age where she is developing her self-esteem, she herself is trying to figure out who she is. She hasn't even fully matured yet, nor has she developed herself. She might not even have been able to, I'm not underestimating 13-year-olds, but I've seen many and I've been one, so that's what I'm sharing on the basis of, right? So she might not even have fully figured out herself. Now imagine if she ends up crushing on yet another emotionally immature person and irresponsible person, which is completely all right. You are not obliged to be responsible at that age. But if she does end up crushing over a person that's not emotionally mature or responsible or haven't even figured themselves out yet, then that way she is giving the key to a person to control her emotions and dictate how she feels about herself to yet another emotionally immature person. The last person, when she is in the integral years of her life, the last person that she needs to give the keys of her emotions to, dictating her emotions and her views about herself, should be yet another irresponsible, immature teenager who is still trying to figure himself out. Basically, the one who commented that in my last video where she said that having an attraction is normal, she also mentioned that men like acts of kindness. So, you can make them happy by just being kind to them. And immediately after reading it, I thought, we're not talking about men here. We're talking generally teenagers, boys, girls, the ones that are trying to figure themselves out yet. And I cannot expect a teenage boy to reciprocate my kindness. It could be mistaken in 10 different ways by that boy. It's risky for me as a girl to go ahead and give extra level of kindness to any random teenage boy. And it can be the other way around too, where a guy could be crushing over a girl of his age, and the girl could also not fully knowing what is the result of maybe taking the wrong advantage of the guy's emotions, using the guy because he's emotionally tied up by her to her advantage, because she does not know better, because both of them are maybe just exploding. Maybe they want to make mistakes, and they will make mistakes. Generally, teenagers at this age are prone to make mistakes from which they will be able to learn later on. But in that case, for both of them to look at each other as somebody who is a potential responsible part of their life is self-sabotage. It can be very risky for that person's self-esteem. As much as it has to be experienced, it should not be acted upon, especially for the teenagers. Even 17, 18-year-olds, we all are still developing who we are. Till 20, don't try. Now, if you want to get married, there is a different barakah that comes with marriage. And Islam, it's a big commitment. So the two people, wantingly, unwantingly, have to mature, because if they have taken the responsibility and the big decision of getting married to each other at that age, they also have to, in return to that, be highly accountable and responsible for each other and themselves too. But we're talking about people that are still trying to get to know themselves. Given that, if a random person's view on you can impact your self-esteem so much, then imagine there can potentially be anything coming from your so-called crush if they get to know about you having a crush on them, or even if they don't know. And you have given them the key to control your emotions. They can, like this, decide how you end up feeling about yourself even for the rest of your life. Now, let's take another scenario, okay? Here, let's focus on the part of the crush being unattainable. They are committed to somebody else. Maybe they don't have the characteristics that you basically look for, the core ones that you look for in a potential partner, spouse, inshallah. And let's say that even if you're considering to let them know, they are probably unattainable. Maybe their parents have really strict rules about them as to who they want their kids to be with, and the kid does not want to cross that line. Or maybe that kid lives abroad and things couldn't potentially seem to be working out, okay, as per how you want them to. Or let's just take the most simple basic thing. Maybe that person is not interested in you. Once you discover that, you keep on crushing over them. Generally, if you keep it within yourself, you are going to keep crushing over that person, and that is way worse, because the chances are most likely that you're still going to hold on to your crush, that feeling of infatuation with them, that excitement at their arrival, and their presence having a huge influence on how you feel. Because someone said this, that fear is something that you don't see. Now let's replace that word fear with excitement. The excitement is always of the unknown. You are always excited at the thought of what could potentially be a possible scenario, but it is not what you experience. That is why after you experience something, or after you get rid of it, the excitement level goes away. So generally, when you tend to hold on to this crush, it is an attachment to the excitement that that person invokes in you, because your imaginary potential situation or life with them. The feeling of that excitement keeps you occupied. And a human mind, we hate to feel bored. We want to feel some of the other way, right? Some of the other day. We get bored if things are normal. So we want to feel something or the other. So when you think of this person, now that you have a crush on them, you'll get all excited. But at the thought of what? Oh, he looked at me. She looked at me. Oh, they were at the same place I was at. How cool. Or they may have given a sign to you. But did they come and tell you that, hey, I actually want to get to know you for the purpose of marriage? No. Hey, I'm interested in you. Let's get to know each other for the purpose of marriage. Let's make our parents meet each other. Did they tell that to you? No. In Islam, all these cues and all these signs is not a sign. A sign is when the person comes to you and expresses their interest towards you. We don't play games in Islam, alhamdulillah. Now, let's take a scenario where everything might work out in your favor if you have a crush on that person. You might end up telling that person, hey, I have a crush on you. They might even just get to know about it. And for all you know, you might end up discovering that they like you as well. Whoa, so for this case, it's been confirmed that the feelings are mutual. What do we do now? Well, that, if you're a practicing Muslim, can lead you into haram relationships. And inshallah, I'll make a video on the impact that haram relationships can possibly have on your life and in your marriage, inshallah. However, let me just give you 3 potential consequences of what can happen after a haram relationship. First of all, you have a baggage. You don't just have a baggage of being physically involved with that person, but also emotional baggage when you enter into your marriage from someone who wasn't even, for all you know, your spouse, who wasn't your life partner. As Allah has said in the Quran, we have created you in pairs. That wasn't your pair mate. That wasn't the mate. It was somebody random. He gave them the power to become something to you, and now you have a history with them. And it could be both ways, right? So you enter with that emotional baggage. So there can be chances of comparison. Also, if it has been toxic, you have traumas now that you have to heal. And you are also most probably attached to the relationship that you had with them. And thirdly, an experience that is obvious. If there was physical involvement with that person, then that is also an experience that you don't want to have, because that can lead to comparisons. This is something that I've heard people who have studied psychology or a lot surfacing on YouTube that give mostly like marriage advices and how a relationship, toxic one before marriage, can have a huge impact on the marriage. And so once I was able to get into and understand the dynamics of it, I was like, yeah, that really makes sense. So I thought I should share it with you guys. I'm not today gonna leave you guys without a solution. Okay, let's start here. In the last video, I told you guys, in order to get rid of that crush, you need to talk about that crush. Now, what did I mean by that? And bringing back the point that I stated earlier in this video, that we are attached to the unknown. You are excited about what you don't see and witness yet. So that is why when you talk about this and talk about what it could all potentially lead into, maybe get to know that person a little bit, not actually in person, but if you're classmates and if you hear something off of them, don't put extra efforts, but whatever you know of them, try to assess the entire situation of what could potentially be your scene with them, and try to think about it and write it down in your journal, because a piece of paper, like one of my friends said, will not judge you. Humans can, a paper will not. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not judge any of one of us. Whenever we feel these emotions, it's so beautiful how we might feel like, oh, if only a human knew what all I was feeling, they would think like, what crazy of a person this is. But the one that has created our nervous system that feels, no matter how we're feeling, right? It could be deep embarrassment, deep infatuation, deep attraction, deep depression and panic. Allah knows everything. So share it with him and talk to him about what could it be potentially with that person. Because for me, like, I went through something quite disturbing a few moments back, and I just sat and had like an hour of conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, I'm doing better. So a lot of the times you need to talk about something to be able to get out of that mentally. Even if you go through traumas, why do people take therapy and counseling? Because firstly, they talk about what happened to them. A lot of the times, things stay in their head because they weren't able to address it. There could be so much that you yourself, by yourself, haven't discovered yet about what your life could potentially be with that crush, or your moments could potentially be with that crush, that you're yet to do that. So get started today. Talk about it and write it down. Inshallah, when you are infatuated to somebody that is potentially unattainable and that you cannot get with for some reason, it is because of your attachment to the excitement and the nervousness that they give you. So when the nervousness or the excitement and the thought of them, that feeling itself is gone, then the crush is gone. Yeah? Secondly, I want to encourage you to pick on a hobby. As much as it is important to talk about this, it is equally important to not drown into your thinking of that one person. Then again, you are putting them on the pedestal, so you are giving them the power to be pretty much involved with your entire day in your head. You're giving them too much attention that way. That can lead to further obsession. So while you talk about them, you can get up after that and pick on a hobby like art and maybe reading a book, or maybe just even journaling, further journaling, but you can turn to something new topic so that your mind is elsewhere. Maybe play an outdoor sport or an indoor game, and you can try to pick on a hobby. And the recitation of the Quran and the recitation of the surahs is also something that you need to focus on, and you should and fit that practice into your daily routine so that it brings peace to your heart. Like every time I've recited the Quran, my heart has felt at ease. This is not something, a lot of the experiences cannot be backed up with. This is just how my heart feels when I read Quran, I listen to the Quran. It feels at peace. At the side, you can pick up some hobbies. You can maybe hit the cafe and have a coffee, or you can bake something, you can cook something. I've given you many options. Or guys, if you already have a hobby, get back in touch with that hobby. Maybe that one hobby that you may have left like 5 years ago, get back in touch with it. You're good at it. For me, it was art. Like I loved art. I need to get back at it. I have all the like resources, but I just don't do it anymore. I need to. As well, talking about it is important. And while we're at it, I would suggest you guys to talk about this with somebody who knows your crush and also knows you. Now, they need not necessarily know your crush in and out, okay? But they could have some info about your crush. They could maybe go through their social media and just be aware. And that person should not also have a crush on your crush. That is all that works. For me, it's been either my mother or my friend. So when you tell that person, the other third person that you can trust, the person that you can trust with this, okay, that I have a crush on them, and when you talk about that person in front of them, it will so happen that that person will look at this crush of yours in a very neutral manner. You might put all these rose-colored lenses and look at your crush with so many emotions, but most probably the third person will not even look at your crush with that, which means that they will be able to point out any red flags if there are, or anything that, you know, makes the crush not very special, and they can, in a very neutral manner and without any hesitation, and bring that to your notice as well. It should be a person that potentially has good regards for you, so that when you tell them about that crush and when you talk about that crush to them, then they tell you, hey, here's my reality check. You can decide. Not somebody that tells you, he's too bad for you, or you're too bad for him. That's extreme. But somebody that tells you, hey, I'm happy that you like this person, but here's my notice. Need not necessarily be something bad, but that will make you come to terms with, again, the fact that your crush is a human, okay? And it's not some Prince Charming with the knight in shining armor. Not really. That doesn't happen, unfortunately, in this dunya. It's a human. And that can help you get rid of the crush. Remember, we're talking about getting rid of the crush. When you're looking for a potential spouse, you cannot expect a Prince Charming either, but you can have your qualities listed up then when you're ready for a marriage, right? But we're trying to get rid of the crush over here. Now, next up, you need to go out, put yourself in the real world and socialize. Now, why do I say this? It's generally because when a crush is prolonged on someone that again seems like that person is unattainable, then the reason it might be prolonged is also because you might feel like that's the only person that's there that you can actually crush on, or you have a chance with. But when you put yourself out there in social gatherings, the halal ones, for example, where you can go at masajids where there are khutbahs happening and you can sit there and witness the khutbahs. You can also go to places for educational purposes. For example, I know of this community club called Toastmasters where public speaking is promoted, and they're both genders that are mixed with each other, but it's like extremely professional, right? For the most part. And also at places where for religious or knowledgeable gatherings, both the genders are there. Not for you to wed anyone. I'm not trying to tell you that you want to get rid of this crush by crushing over somebody else. But you get out in the world and you understand that, okay, the way I am looking at it, maybe it's just me thinking that I have lack of options, or me thinking that this is the only good person. I'm not even saying that you need to be able to meet the opposite gender necessarily to understand that you can be treated well. But a lot of the times, the reason you're attached to somebody that does not probably give you attention in any scenario, if you don't get attention from your crush, it's because 80 to 90% of the times humans do exactly what they want to do, which is they might not really be that interested in you. But when you see like your female friends, if your female friends treat you really well, you'll understand that, okay, I'm deserving of good treatment too. Crushing over somebody who is cold to me, clinging onto this feeling can be quite destructive. And at this point, I have had way too many good interactions to cling on to something that's not reaping anything out of itself. This brings me to, subhanAllah, in halal courtship, which is done for the purpose of marriage in Islam, which is If somebody wants to look for a potential partner, they approach the partner, they let them know, I want to get to know you for the purpose of marriage. They talk about to each other to get to know each other enough to decide that this is going to be my spouse, with the involvement of someone elderly. So in that case also, it's not a rule that while you're doing halal courtship, you have to only talk to one person and be loyal to only one person. Because you haven't been married to them yet. It's not been decided whether they're your partner. So what do you think that you have to be loyal to a feeling of yours about someone before you've even gotten married to them? Isn't it strange that before you even know that this is my life partner, you just have decided, nah, it's this person or nobody. Be practical about this. It's your emotions. They're precious. Don't give it away just like that to anybody. Don't put them on the pedestal, because trust me, if you want to have barakah in your marriage, and when our Allah himself hasn't put this implication on us that you have to be loyal to someone before you get married to them, what makes you think that you have to stay loyal to some feeling of yours, of a crush? It's generally a feeling that you're attached to, and not the person. And it's not love. You might think it is, but if it has always been a crush, trust me, it's not love. It is an attachment to that feeling of excitement of what you think could potentially be with that person. You don't know enough about them to be able to love them. In my opinion, when you love someone, it's when you have enough amount of memories with them, when you can respect each other, when you look up to each other, and most importantly, when you both want the best for each other and act that way, especially religiously. And I would also, even for this video, be interested to know what your opinions are. So if you have any opinions, you can drop them down in the comment section below. I'd be interested to know. And that is about it for this video. If you like this video, do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Inshallah, I will come up with more such videos in the future. And take care of yourselves, guys. Offer your 5 daily prayers. Allah Hafiz, Yaman Allah.